Hi guys, this is the first video in what will hopefully become a series of tutorials on NS2. I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while. I just haven't really gotten around to doing anything about it. This first video is about advanced Marine Commander tips. And so if you like this type of content and would like to see more of these types of tutorials, or even if you don't like this type of content, leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Note that it is January 28th, 2019, and I'm running build 326. So if you're watching this in the future, please note that some or all of this content might be different compared to what you're playing with today or in the future. Just also a general disclaimer, this first tutorial is only about advanced tips and tricks for the Marine Commander. So I assume that you already have basic concepts down and you know how to command, or you've taken at least the in-game tutorial, because I won't be explaining any of that, the basic fundamental stuff here. Maybe in a future video, like if you guys are interested in having something more in-depth than what is available through the in-game tutorial, like sending hotkeys and building placement and other stuff like that, maybe I'll think about doing something like that. But hopefully if you're watching this now, that you've played a number of games as Marine Commander and you have all the fundamentals down, and you're just looking for something that's a little bit more advanced than what you'll get with the online tutorial. So with all that said, let's start. One of the most important things that a Marine Commander needs to do at the beginning of a round is to locate the alien hive. Obviously this only matters on maps that have random start locations. So maps like Vale, which I'm playing here, or Docking, Eclipse, Caged, Origin, those kinds of maps that have random start locations. Other maps that have fixed start locations like Biodome or Summit, which has like cross spawns, obviously that's irrelevant because you always know where they start. Okay, so there are two ways that the Marine Com can locate the starting hive. And the first way, which I think is what most people are familiar with or have at least heard, is that you drop a med or ammo pack on the tech point that you're trying to check, and then you can check to see whether that ammo or med pack falls to the floor through the hive, or if it doesn't fall to the floor through the hive, it sits on top of the hive, and that's how you tell, by kind of looking at parallax. And I'll demonstrate that here just so that in case you weren't aware of it, you'll have that knowledge of how to do that. And the second way, which is what I'll show next after that, involves using the attack command. So you select a Marine and there's these options to attack or defend. So you can use the attack command on the tech point, and that tells you. And that way doesn't require any resources. In the first way, when you use a med or ammo pack, you have to use at least one resource and potentially two, depending on the map and circumstances. But like on Vale here, there are three possible starting locations. So it would require at least one. If you happen to get lucky, you find it right away, great. But if you don't find it immediately, then you have to spend another resource to eliminate the last remaining two. And so it could cost at least two resources, or could potentially cost two resources. And so I much prefer the second way, which is what I'll demonstrate later, about using the attack command, because it doesn't require any resources at all, and you can do it very, very fast. And so the first thing though I'll demonstrate is how to use a med pack, so we'll do that first. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to demonstrate is how to locate the starting hive using a med pack or an ammo pack. It's up to you which one you want. They're both one resource, so it doesn't really matter. If we're quicker with med pack, then do it that way, or ammo, it doesn't matter. I already know that on Vale here, their hive is at Pipeline, but of course it could either be at Cargo or Subsector. I'm just going to demonstrate it here real quick because I wanted to know which hive they had started at, and that way you can see it exactly. Okay, so you drop a med pack or ammo pack on the tech point. So it's important to try to land obviously within this tech point square, because then it'll land on top of the hive. So that's very important. You don't want to drop it kind of too far out into the perimeter, because then you'll miss the hive location. So that the whole idea here is that when you drop med packs or ammo packs from the sky, they drop down from your viewpoint, and then if there's an alien structure in the way, that med pack can't find its way down to the floor where a Marine would be. And so if you were to drop this randomly out in the open someplace, it's going to go straight down to the floor. But if there's a hive here, if I were to do that same thing, what happens is that med pack or ammo pack sits on top of the hive. Now, you can't really tell unless you're been dropping a lot of med packs or ammo packs, and you can see that it's slightly bigger. But what you do is then you press it up and down arrows, and you can see that this med pack or this ammo pack here, as I press the arrow keys, there's a parallax effect, meaning that this guy is appearing closer to me as I scroll down than the stuff underneath. So if it were to be immediately on the floor and that ammo pack would scroll together. So there's something in between us. And just to demonstrate that, I'll come down here to cargo. I'll drop an ammo pack in the same way. And now as I scroll up and down, you see that that ammo pack stays with the floor. It doesn't move in a parallax type of way. And just to confirm, we come over here to subsector, same thing. That ammo pack stays on the floor, and there's no parallax. So this is how you do it using a med pack or ammo pack. It costs 1 resource, potentially 2, but you just drop it on the hive location and then just scroll up and down, and you'll see that, oh hey, that thing is moving in parallax, so that must be where the hive is. Okay, so now we're going to demonstrate the second way of how to locate the alien start hive. And this is the preferred way, the way that I prefer to do it. It doesn't cost any resources. And so what you do is you highlight a Marine, and maybe people don't know this, and so I'll explain this a little bit. When you do click on a Marine, or you drag a box around a Marine or a group of Marines with the left mouse button, you see over here in the hotkey menu, there's 4 different options that show up. The first one is attack, and you see that that's bound to the key A. And then the next one is move, which is S. And then there's defend, D, and then construct, F.
Objective completed.
Incidentally, if you right click, it's the equivalent to move command. But I also can press S and then left click somewhere in the map, and you see that the spot will follow that. So I can keep instructing him to move to various locations. And on his screen, if that were to be a human player, he would see move to this location. The commander is asking you to move to this location. Well, the other commands, defend, so I can press D and click somewhere, and it'll tell that Marine to defend that location, or F to construct something, like he wanted an observatory or a resource tower to be built. But what's most important for this tutorial is the attack command. So I'm just going to instruct the Marine to run up here for now. This is the same map, the same game, so I know that the starting hive is over here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the attack command on a hive location. So here's what happens. If I press A, still got that Marine highlighted, I press A, instruct to attack, and then I left click something in the map. And what you're doing is you want to click on a hive location. So this tech point, there should be no hive here. So I press A, or I left click after I pressed A, and I click on that tech point. You hear that sound. So I press A, left click, you hear this sound. And what that means is that there's no structure there. There's no hive there. Of course, they can't build any other structures inside this tech point square. So you know for sure, hey, there's no hive here. And just to confirm, we'll go over here to subsector, press A, left click. That little icon went away, and you hear that sound. So now, same thing, except we're going to do it on the pipe hive. So we know there's a hive here. So I'm going to show this what happens. I press A, left click, and now that sound, you don't hear that sound, but most importantly, now you get this icon. So this is a little crosshair, a circle crosshair, and then that flashing icon. As long as you're still highlighting that marine, if I click somewhere else, that little icon is gone. But as long as you're still highlighting that marine, press A, and you see that little icon, and no sound. So that's how you know that there's a hive there. This same trick is not just for hive locations, it'll also work for other structures. So if I want this marine to attack, say the resource tower up here, I press A and left click on the resource tower, and now you see the bot is attacking that resource tower. But the same kind of thing, you see that little crosshair. Now if I instruct him to move up here, press A, click on there, you hear that sound, right? That means there's no structure there. And that's how you tell. Okay, the next thing that I'd like to talk about, this one, a few people that I've seen use this kind of trick or technique, and not a lot of other people. So I wanted to talk about this. When you first jump into the comm chair and you press E to start commanding, you have a little bit of time, a few seconds, before the shell closes around you, right? I press E, the shell closes around me, and then I go into a top-down view, right? Well, in that intermediate time between pressing E and the thing closing and going to the top-down view, you can move your character around. And you'll see people, when the game hasn't started yet, people jumping out, pressing E, jumping out like that, and then it kind of resets, right? Well, you can also press E and then turn around, but still let the thing enclose around you. And so now I'm in a top-down view. But now here's the trick. When I turned around inside that comm chair, I'm now facing towards the armory and towards the IP. So my character, my model, is still inside that chair, and that's facing that direction. So now here, if I were to press log out, watch what happens. I'm immediately facing that same direction. I'm facing the armory and I'm facing the IPs. If I were to just walk in straight, press E, and not move at all, now watch. Now I'm facing that console screen. So here's where it matters. Say you've got an alien horde rushing your main, a Zerg rush or something like that, and they're all over your IPs. Well, if you log out to try and defend main, say you don't have an observatory and you can't beacon, or you don't have money to beacon, or whatever the reason, if you're facing this direction when you log out, then you got to turn around and you got to start fighting. So it's more useful if you press E and then turn around in the location that you think they would come from. And now if there's a bunch of Zerglings running around your main, just press log out and you're ready to fire immediately in the exact location that they would be coming from. So this is a really important trick. It's not useful on all maps because some maps you're already facing the direction you need to be facing. Say shipping on tram, it probably not all that useful to be turning around, but on this map in particular, Vale and some others, it's very useful to turn around in the chair before you let it close. Okay, the next thing I'd like to talk about are robotics factories. And here I built one in our main, and I've already upgraded it to an ARC robotics factory. So when you first start building ARCs or Macs out of that robotics factory, the default location for those ARCs and those Macs will be to drop them off immediately in front of the factory. And I think most people are aware of the fact that you can right-click. So after you've chosen the robotics factory, click on it, you can right-click somewhere, and it establishes a rally point with that little icon there. And so I could just right-click somewhere in the map, build a Mac, and you'll see it follows that rally point. That's pretty useful when you've set up a remote ARC factory and you're trying to siege out a hive location. You want to keep the robotics factory maybe somewhere further away from the hive and then just rally all your ARCs at the one location. Particularly if you are you've got this robotics factory hotkeyed like this, and then you just want to build ARCs and move them all into the same location. quickly and easily, and you're off somewhere else dropping med packs and stuff like that. This rally point is very important. But I think what some people may not be aware of is that you can actually queue up multiple rally points. Now, where this could be useful, meaning whatever is built from there can drop off into, or can move to certain locations that you've chosen instead of just the default path finding algorithm that it's used for that Mac or ARC to go to that particular rally point. Meaning, there's a straight line that's created for that rally point, right? Here it's going through the map. It's a straight line. So there's a pathfinding algorithm that will get employed for the ARC or the Mac to go to that location. But what if you don't want that to happen? What if you want that Mac or that ARC to go a very specific route? How do you do that? Well, you can, and it's by queuing the rally point. And so what you do is you hold down the Shift key. So I'm pressing Shift now, and then now I right click multiple times. So again, I've chosen the ARC factory. I'm holding down the Shift key, and now I right click and anywhere on the map, and you see that this rally point is now growing. There's multiple rally point locations. I can draw all over the place. I don't know what the limit is. I haven't tested that, but I think it's quite a lot. And so now, if I were to build a Mac robotics factory, you'll see that this Mac is going to hit each one of these rally points, and it'll end up over here. And so you could do this with an ARC and multiple ARCs. You just build these ARCs. You could have them go in a specific route around the map that might be more advantageous or a better path for them to travel than just the default pathfinding algorithm, because that might take them through hostile territory that you don't want them to go. While we're on the subject of ARCs and queuing commands, you can queue, just like with the rally point for the ARC's robotics factory, you can also queue up ARC movement commands, as well as Mac movement commands, but that applies for both Macs and ARCs. Highlight all of the ARCs, and then now press the Shift key, hold the Shift key, and right click in multiple locations, and the ARCs will continue along the path and hit each one of those locations. I can also then let go of the Shift key and then just right click someplace, and that will reset that. But in addition to queuing movement locations, you can also chain together multiple commands. Meaning I can have them go to a specific location by right clicking, hold the Shift key, and then deploy them. Meaning I can press this deploy key and have them deploy when they get to their final location. So this is very useful if you don't want to sit around and wait for them to arrive in their location and just watch them. Meaning you want them to deploy as soon as they get to where they're supposed to be, and then you don't have to be there. Meaning you're off somewhere else on the map giving med packs and stuff, right? Which is very important. So say I want to attack this hive, right? These ARCs are out of range. They can't hit the pipe hive. I know that I have to bring the ARCs roughly into this location for them to start sieging, but I don't want to wait to watch them move all the way down. So what do, right? I've got all of them highlighted. I right click, and then I'll hold the Shift key, and then you can either press Z immediately, which is nice because it's right next to the Shift key, right? Or you can just click on this button, but I'm just going to use the Shift key. So right click, hold Shift, press Z, and now watch. These ARCs are going to move all the way down, and then you see here this icon. As soon as they get there, they will immediately deploy.
Objective completed.
So that's very, very useful, particularly if they have a very long distance to travel and you don't want to just have to watch them and babysit them as they go. Okay, while we're on the topic of ARCs, ARC factories, and sieging alien structures. Most people know this already, but ARCs can only attack structures that they can see. And so like these ARCs here at Pipeline, they're not attacking anything because I haven't scanned, meaning they have no vision of this harvester or any other alien structures that might be in this hive location. And so there's multiple ways that you can get around that. One is to press E and then F, and that will scan that location, and you see these arcs will now start attacking any structures within that scan radius. Another way is to build an observatory someplace near what you want to gain vision of. And so if I were to build an observatory, say down here, then anything that observatory can see, the arcs will have vision of, and so you can place them, as long as those arcs are within range, that is, of those structures, they will be able to attack them. Another way is to send in a marine, and as long as the marine can see a structure, then the arcs can attack that structure. So I could have a marine come in here and look at that harvester here, and it'll start to attack. The other thing that maybe people don't know is that if there are multiple structures and you scan or have vision, which structures will the arcs attack first? What's the priority ranking? I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one, because given multiple structures, which ones will get attacked first? Maybe it's random. I don't know. I think just empirical evidence is that they will attack defensive structures first, so they will attack whips or hydra first. They'll prioritize those first so that the marines will have an easier time. I think that's the way it happens, just from my own experience. I think the arcs tend to attack hydras first. I see that very often. But what if you want to attack very specific structures? And sometimes the most important thing to attack is, say, a gorge tunnel, so that the aliens can't reinforce that location. Or it's to attack a shade, because the alien comm has a shade hive, and they're able to ink a location. So you would want to be able to attack that shade before you attack anything else, meaning you want to take that shade out. So you want to prioritize certain targets. And you can do that with the arcs. Instead of letting them just hit things through their own default priority list, maybe it's random, again, I don't know, but you want to attack one very specific thing first. There's a way to do that. So if you've got these arcs highlighted here, you can see there's the move command, which of course they're deployed, they can't move, a stop, but also D, this attack command. So if I were to highlight all these arcs, scan in here, press D, and then click on a structure, I'm going to highlight this arc. So I left click on that arc, and now these arcs are going to intentionally hit that shade first before they attack anything else. And so you see there, I took out that shade. Now it looks like they're attacking the hive, but I can then also now scan, highlight, press D, and they're going to attack that whip. Let's see if this happens. There, it just killed that whip, and it happened to kill the crag next to it. So that's how you can attack very specific structures rather than having them go through some default priority list. Okay guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully you found this video informative. You found something useful that maybe you didn't know before. And if you like this type of content, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Or if you have ideas for other stuff that you'd like me to try to explain or talk about, more advanced videos. I know there's a lot of tutorials out there already on life forms and commanding and things like that, but some of them are pretty old. They might be out of date. So if there's specific topics that people are interested in, like the next one I think I'll do is Alien Commander, because I know there's a bunch of these little tips and tricks for the alien comm that people may not be aware of. So I'm going to work on that next. But in the meantime, give me your feedback and let me know what you think. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.